or at the 90s, I guess, it kind of declined the interest. And then it's changed now to what now it seems to be reviving again, I guess.
These things will always go in cycles, but it's not so much that the interest declined in any particular period. It's just simply that you became used to it, which is the point. Because it's all part of the acclimation process for open contact. To present many of these things to you, allow you to sort of absorb them, get used to the idea. It may appear as if interest has waned, but it simply goes to the core groups that are maintaining investigation into these things. And when more information and new information then comes out, it may appear that the interest is rekindled. It's not that the interest has declined. It's simply that at a certain point, your society has gotten used to it and allowed it to become something more normal. Therefore, there's no real reason to call it out as anything different until something different happens.
Do we also go through cycles of sort of disenchantment with magical thinking? The idea of what humans are capable of, or there might be other beings.
There can be cycles like that, but again, remember that these are only the result and consequence of fear-based beliefs. So you may have to go through these cycles to face those beliefs and bring yourself back into the realization and alignment that everything, in a sense, is magical, which doesn't mean it's unscientific. There's really no such thing as supernatural. There isn't. Everything is natural. It's just that it might be nature you don't understand yet.
Right. And, before, the idea that you could walk into a room and flip a switch and have electricity light your room sounds like magic, right?
Yes. But as you referred earlier to the author of your 2001 story, he has a famous quote, and that is that any sufficiently advanced technology would be indistinguishable from magic to those who don't understand it.
Which is so exciting.
Yes.
It really is a more magical future that we're moving into, but it's not that it's the antithesis of science. It's just expanded.
Exactly. Because again, there's really no such thing as the supernatural. It's all natural.
So how is open contact beneficial for us?
How would you like it to be beneficial for you?
Making new friends?
Expanding your family, learning new things, creating more capabilities in your society, expanding your imagination, creating more inventions, interacting with different cultures in a variety of new ways that will expand your understanding of existence and life and many other things. And the same exists for us. We each benefit. Our family grows. We see from different perspectives. We learn more about all that is and all the different ways it has of expressing itself within creation, which puts you more in alignment in your understanding of existence and allows you to do more things than you did before.
I know one person was asking about the evolution of humans, and as you're expressing that, it just brings to mind the idea that as we evolve, we appear to be more and more magical, more and more in touch with extra dimensionals, extra other dimensions, and making that more normalized in our experience of being physical.
Yes, and paradoxically, you're actually, as you evolve, becoming more human.
Because we have more compassion and we're not expressing the negative fear-based perspective as we were in earlier times in our civilization.
Yes, and the idea also of more pondering of contact has rewired you in a variety of ways that actually gives you more capabilities than you used to have thousands of years ago, physiologically.
Yes, so interesting. So what is the relationship between ET contact and fourth density?
Well, the relationship is a directly proportional one because we represent a higher frequency of physical reality. So the idea is that as you are evolving from third density to fourth density, all that means is you're raising your frequency into a higher expression of physical reality. And extraterrestrial beings can represent that and can, if you're willing to match their frequency, allow that vibration to rub off on you, so to speak, so that you can begin to accelerate toward the experience of a higher level, a higher frequency, and a higher experience of physical reality that you're referring to as fourth density.
I know that some individuals are concerned about leaving other people behind when they accept a new paradigm for how reality works and moving to a higher expression of yourself.
Yeah.
So I believe you might have talked about this idea of sometimes the people remain in your reality and they are different. Sometimes they leave your reality, right?
Or you leave their reality.
But the way that we experience it as an individual and the people we care about, what are some ways that, other than what I just said? I mean, how does this
All right.
work?
Well, again, the idea is to increase your vibration into the realm of compassion. When you do that, you start to have a different perspective of the choices that different people may make, even if they don't make choices that are aligned with yours. You still be able to see that they are following a path that they believe they may need to follow to learn what it is that they have chosen to follow or learn in their theme of exploration. And you also start to really truly realize and experience others, no matter the choices they make, as eternal, infinite beings. Therefore, there's no hurry and there's no rush that they should match your vibration and experience the same reality that you do at this particular moment. They will learn what they need to learn in their own good timing. So the idea is to know that as you change and take yourself to other levels and other parallel realities and other versions of Earth that may not necessarily be vibrationally compatible with what they are choosing for themselves, thus giving you the appearance of leaving them behind or them disappearing from your life, you still have to know that we're all interconnected, that we all have our own paths, and you can have the compassion to let them walk their path without thinking that there's something wrong in them doing that. You will eventually always meet up again anyway.
It actually is so similar what you're describing to the idea of losing someone through death and being willing to accept that they made that choice and that for their timing and their reality, that's what they needed. And that a lot of our resistance to someone leaving that way is the idea that you can't communicate with them anymore, you can't physically feel them anymore, and also that you're actually crying for yourself because you feel bereft that they left you, I guess, in a sense.
Yes, but you will eventually not look at it that way anymore. In fact, the paradox and the irony is that the more you get used to the extraterrestrial vibration, you will also find yourself getting more in alignment with the vibration of spirit, and therefore you will see that there's a great deal of similarity in the dimension from which we operate and the dimension from which spirit operates. There is a lot of similarity between the vibrational frequency of certain extraterrestrials such as ourselves and those beings you call the spirits of the dead. Therefore, as you get used to us and perceive us more, you will perceive the dead more often as well and learn that you can communicate with them just as easily as you will learn to communicate with us. So this kind of, shall we say, to use your language, gives you a twofer. A 2-for-1. Learning to communicate with us and matching our frequency will also allow you to match the frequency of the dead.
It is actually fascinating because if you love someone that's died and you reach out and connect with that energy over and over again, it actually trains you to be more capable of interacting with other beings in other dimensions, such as ETs.
Correct.
It's great. So it's actually a gift when someone you love transitions. They're actually bringing you much closer into the contact with spirit.
Because you are attempting to connect to them. Therefore, you're reaching out with your energy and your mentality and your emotionality toward them. So it actually starts training you to reach out toward that frequency because you so strongly wish to remain connected to them.
I know, and most people don't even feel it that the person on the other side is connecting and reaching out because they're in such grief, their vibration drops and they can't
Yes. And in fact, the
feel it.
irony of that situation is that beyond a certain point of what you might call natural grieving, to get used to the idea that they are not physical anymore, the idea is that many times when such spirits attempt to contact you, to attempt to communicate with you, because of the definition you're holding on to that you have lost someone, that you're not connected to them anymore, just because it isn't the way it used to be, you may actually experience that communication as more grief. So sometimes when out of the blue you suddenly remember them, think of them, and start grieving and crying and being sad, that may actually be an indication that they're attempting to contact you, but you're interpreting their energy not as a communication, but as a loss because you're still holding on to that definition that you're no longer connected to them, that you've lost them. So that's the irony sometimes of grieving much later on, when the idea is they're attempting to get you to simply realize that they're still around.
Yes, it's the idea of resisting the change that
Yes.
they chose and then not realizing that you have a new language to learn. If you want to talk to that
Exactly.
person, you need to open up to the possibility of the form of communication they choose. Because when someone loves you, they don't stop loving you just because they transitioned. If anything, they're always focused on how much they love you. So
Yes.
it's
This is
learning their
why.
language.
Yes, it is literally like someone simply moving to a different country. And now that they have the language of that country, it does behoove those in physical reality to at the very least learn some of that language so that you can communicate. Now, of course, like the higher mind, they will attempt to communicate with you through energy forms, which again you can feel suddenly as a wash of love over you or wash of compassion over you, and even the idea of an acceleration of your own passion, because that's the way the energy language of spirit translates in your physical form. So pay attention to synchronicities, because they can be communications from them and all sorts of different ways. But again, the idea is that they're not always attempting to do that. They have their own lives to experience as well. However, this is one of the reasons why your Shakespeare referred to the afterlife as the undiscovered country. It is literally just another level, another country, another culture, another reality, but it's still connected to the one that you're living in now, because remember, the one that you perceive yourself to be living in isn't, in a sense, anything but a dream. You are still in the spirit realm. You're just dreaming that you're not. So in many ways, there's not always a reason for those who have passed to contact the physical part of you, because they're already in contact with the greater part of you that exists alongside them in the spirit realm. They're not missing you because you're already there.
Yes. A new chapter.
Yes.
I mean, it is a new chapter when someone passes, and all you have to do
Yes.
is accept the next chapter of that book.
Exactly. It will be a fascinating read. A page turner.
Now, when individuals start channeling and they have emotional imbalances,
Yes.
let's see.
Are you specifically referring to the idea of vocal channeling? Because again, remember, anytime you act on your passion, you're in the channeling state. So there are many expressions of channeling.
Well, sometimes when people start channeling, they become overwhelmed and anxious and all of
Yes.
these kinds of things. And there's not a real clear sense of, is this another entity? Is this their consciousness?
Yes, well, there doesn't have to be. The point is that those experiences, those things coming up within the channel, are part of the purpose of the channeling. It's not just about bringing information through to others and being of service to them in that way. It's also an opportunity and a process to allow the channel to clear themselves out of any belief systems that are out of alignment with who they truly prefer and need to be, so that they can be of greater service to others and bring through information that might be more relevant for them. So it's a dual process. It's not something that a channel should ignore in that sense. Anytime they come upon those feelings of imbalance or overwhelm, it's time to stop and take a look at what belief systems are causing that so you can clear the way and allow yourself to become a clearer channel, a clearer conduit for the information that others may require.
That serve to us, and I know the time is always now, but is that a side effect of having our so-called space and time in our dimension? Thank you. Bye.
Yes, it is. Because memories are created in the present, no matter what they represent about the so-called past, because the past is an illusion. Nevertheless, from a linear perspective, it gives you the opportunity to learn from something that you consider to be the past. It allows you to grow in a linear way. So you have created the concept of memory to create continuity for yourselves in the illusion of time and space, so that you can see a progression of change which allows you to discover something about yourself that is new.
Hello.
And to you, good day.
Thank you for having me, Bashar.
It is our passion and our pleasure.
Okay, so I feel like the final splits for 2020 are one where Trump wins and one where the other part wins.
There are always alternate realities with things that happen that don't happen in yours. Always.
Okay.
And there are different versions of all of them in different realities. It's not just two. There are many, many realities with different versions of both of those scenarios and other scenarios that have nothing to do with what you experienced, of course.
I want to know what are the chances that I will shift to the reality where Trump actually wins. What will improve my chances to shift to that reality? Because right now I would like to quit my job in another city, although I have another stable income at this time.
Your communication is breaking up, which is an indication that your vibration is breaking up and is not consistent within yourself. Remember that you can shift wherever you wish to as long as you are in a vibrational state that promotes the shift. Whether that be a negative state or a positive state is up to you. But the idea is you will shift according to whatever vibration you create within yourself based on your belief systems and whether or not those belief systems are fear-based or joy-based.
Okay, is my communication okay now?
At the moment, it is.
Okay, so before the age of 7, I was hybridized by the Greys, and that involved some work at the root chakra.
Yes, yes.
What is happening is that in any apartment building, I cannot properly rest at night because there is a location where multiple people are living in the apartments around me. So
why don't you move?
Well,
so why don't you move?
I move. If I move, I need to move somewhere in nature, basically.
So why don't you? What's stopping you?
Well, I need to have some comfort. I mean, it would be expensive.
What makes you think you won't?
I mean, I actually bought a car and to make it as a camper van.
You are breaking up again. It's important for you to understand that this is not just a technological glitch. It's a reflection of your own energy.
I know.
You're not coherent within yourself because you are creating too many details that you think you have to work to put together instead of allowing the flow of your life to lead you and guide you in an automatic way. You are imposing too many limiting belief systems on yourself about what you think you need in order to experience what it is that you prefer in life. You don't need that many beliefs about it. You don't need to do as much as you think you need to do. You need to allow yourself to know that if there is something impeding your ability to be where it is you prefer to be, that it's only your belief system that is impeding it. Your definition of what you think you need is too narrow, and you need to broaden it.
Okay then.
So, what is it you think you need at this moment in your belief system in order to go and move somewhere where you prefer in a way that is comfortable for you? What do you think at this point is lacking that prevents you from being able to do that?
The financial means to have the
Aha! So you're only focused on the idea that the only way you can achieve this is through the concept you call money?
Well, I will need to have the equipment to provide heat and warm.
And what makes you think there aren't other ways to get that?
Well, I would be alone in nature, basically.
So what?
So,
What makes you think there aren't other ways for you to get that?
well, that's the issue, basically, because actually it's a paradox. I feel like being.
All right. All right, we understand. But here's what perhaps will help you understand what we are saying. There are many forms of support, many forms of abundance. Money on your planet may be one symbol, but it's only one symbol. Being given a gift is a symbol of abundance. Having something to trade with someone is a symbol of abundance to get what you need. Synchronicity is a symbol of abundance. Imagination is a symbol of abundance. Communication is a symbol of abundance, because all these things can allow you to experience a flow of receiving the support you need when you need it, in perfect timing, in the form in which you need it, to be able to continue to act on your highest passion. You have to make room for all the forms of abundance to be equally capable of coming into your life. But if you focus only on one as being the only one that's more important, the only one that can get you where you need to be, you're actually closing the doors through all the other ways in which abundance can come to you in these different forms. In many cases, in many circumstances, in many situations, sometimes different forms of abundance have to work together in order to give you the 100% abundance that you need to move forward. So sometimes it might be that a small amount of money will come into your life, but if no more comes in that allows you to do what you need to do, that would be your first clue that some other form of abundance may need to come in to join it. And maybe another form of abundance will come in and join that. And then all together, those different forms, those different expressions of abundance and support will then give you what you need. So maybe in some circumstances, it will be a little bit of money, a little bit of somebody giving you something you need, a little bit of being able to trade with somebody for something that you need, or your imagination will open up and go, oh, there's a different way I can do this. And so by doing it a different way, I may not need what I think I need right now, or I'll get it along another path that I haven't imagined before. You have to be open to all these forms of abundance to truly be supported in your passion in life. And then you will see that as it flows, it will flow you exactly in the correct direction, and you'll wind up exactly where you need to be, when you need to be there. That supports you in the best possible way to allow you to continue to act on your excitement. But you can't have any insistence that it must look a certain way, because the real truth is you have no idea what the ideal outcome for you actually should look like. You just have to trust that the ideal outcome will unfold in the way that serves you best. Is this making some sense?
Yes.
Is this helping?
Very much.
All right. So practice relaxing your insistence on focusing on only one definition of abundance and support, and you will start allowing yourself to perceive through synchronicity other forms of abundance magically coming in. And then you will see your path more clearly.
Okay, so you said you cannot shift to a vastly different reality.
I didn't say that. I simply said you cannot shift to one that's not relevant for you.
Okay, you said you cannot shift to a reality if you don't know you can shift to that reality or something like this.
In a sense, yes, you have to know that it's possible, but you also have to understand what's probable, what's relevant for the theme that you chose to explore. As, in a sense, this version of you, this version of you, this version of you, this version of you. The theme can span many different versions, but you have to understand that some things are simply not relevant for the theme that you chose to explore. Some things are. So sometimes you can experience what appears to be an amazingly large shift into a very different reality, and many times you will simply experience something that seems like a little bit of a difference. That's more common. I'm not saying you can't experience a greater shift, but again, you have to A, know that that's possible, and you have to also know that that's relevant for you.
I understand. My last question.
Yes.
Having the year 2012 as a reference point, what percentage of the souls on Earth have shifted their focus on this reality, and how many are focused in a different reality, like where the humans are different, as I...
All right. Well, again, you're asking kind of a segregational question because you're never on the same Earth. But we understand what you mean and what you're asking. From the idea of a focal point that you're calling 2012, now that you are arriving at the inverse, 2021, you've inverted those last two numbers, you may find that if you want some kind of an average comparison, we perceive that many people have allowed themselves to shift somewhere around 12 to 15, maybe some as high as 20%.
Okay. Okay then.
Does that answer your question?
Yes. Thank
All
you
right.
very much.
We thank you. Our unconditional love and support to you. Good day.
Good day.